Today we will be discussing on the secrets 8 through 14 from the Secrets of Inner Peace. Last time Brahmachari, Vineet and Premdas discussed on the first 7. And before we go into that, tomorrow is Swami Kriyanandaji's discipleship anniversary, the day in 1948 when he took discipleship from Paramahansa Yogananda. So let's keep that sacred day also in our minds as we go to these teachings as expressed through Swamiji. So I will be posting these secrets in the chat so you can follow it. Okay, I hope it is visible to everyone. So the first secret of inner peace is accepting things as they are and then, if necessary, acting calmly and cheerfully to improve them. Interesting, isn't it? Accepting things as they are. All of us, since we are spiritual seekers, have a certain sense of desire within us to always try to make things better. And if something is not all right, we try to make it better. And sometimes in the process of doing that, we do not accept it, we deny it. Say, no, this cannot be the way it is. It has to be something else. And it can happen. I'm not saying it will always happen, but it can happen. So in that case, I think with respect to that, only Swamiji is saying for inner peace, we need to learn to first accept things as they are, and then, if necessary, we can change them calmly and cheerfully. While changing, we don't have to be very serious or tense or worrisome, because if we go into those attitudes, our peace will flow away. And so that is very important. Paramahansa Yogananda ji in his Bhagavad Gita commentaries also said, and Krishna said to Arjuna, without peace, how is happiness possible? So peace is a precursor to happiness. When the suffering ends and peace comes, and it lasts for some time, then only joy can come. So we need to try to maintain that peace, because without it we won't be able to experience divine joy. So with that thing, how do we accept things? There are some things we should accept and some things we shouldn't, because those can really are not the true divine reality. So with respect to that, I would like to share a story. It's a funny one, as experience I had. So I used to learn the Kriya Yoga classes in Mumbai, and at the time I also was going to college. So once I was at one such class and I was little early to the class. So I was looking at Master's photo on the altar and I had a phone with me. I wasn't using it, but during that time I was sitting there wondering. So I saw someone outside on their phone and a thought arose within me and I shared it with Master's photo there. I am not attached to my phone, and I think it was a weird thing to share, but what happened next was, I think Master had this going on. Let's test this theory, whether this person is attached to his phone or not. So that day, while going back home through the train system in Mumbai, my phone got stolen. I think it was a test of I'm not being attached to my phones. So, but by this time I had a bit of experience with regards to losing phones. This was my third experience. It's a weird karma, but this was my third experience of losing a phone. So, accepting things as they are, because I wasn't without my phone and I couldn't search for it in like thousands of people going around there. It was gone. So, first of all, since it was the third time, I wasn't really too upset. I was a little upset, embarrassed actually. So it happened and I was wondering what to do now, because, well, I remembered what I told to Master in the morning, I'm not attached. So with that, I accepted that it has happened and yes, I was responsible for it. Next thing I said, now what I can do. Given this situation, I accept as it is and now what I can do. And the next steps were to ensure that the phone couldn't be misused, so going to a police station, registering a report, cancelling the SIM card, getting a new SIM card and so on and so forth. All those things, but before that was not panicking, was maintaining that inner poise and then calmly going about. I wasn't cheerful about losing a phone, but calmly I was trying to improve the situation. So that is one experience I could share about how that inner peace was able. The first few times when I lost the phone, I wasn't this calm, but the third time was a charm, so it worked. And it is a funny story, but I would like to, like all of you, to take this homework since we are discussing secrets of inner peace. Today, whatever secrets of inner peace we discuss, you can also see from the chat section, whatever we discuss, try to take them and practice them in your own life in the week, months to come. Maybe write them down, jog down the memory lane, remember your experiences when you practice them, and the results of this homework, introspection, you can share with Guru, God, and try to deepen this practice in your daily life. So this is your homework and do it. God is watching. Second secret, ninth secret of inner peace is realizing that you cannot change the world, but you can change yourself. It is, I think, a very common situation which all of us face, especially when we come across these sacred teachings, that we realize, oh, these are powerful teachings. They have the power to change the world, yes. But should we start with that, changing the world? Because our power has to be that as much too. And we fret, worry that, oh, I have to do so much, I want to change this, I want to make the world a better place for everyone. But we cannot do it just by thinking about it, and we cannot do it without doing real work. And just in the process of thinking how to do it, we lose our inner peace. Why? Because we become restless, our energy is not focused, our mind is not focused, and we become restless and we lose peace. So, realizing that it is our own self which needs changing first. And we all come to that realization eventually. I used to think initially, when I realized I was a young kid, that so much of our world is suffering. We make all the wrong choices, affecting our Mother Nature, Mother Earth, and it will lead to the things we are seeing now, disrespecting the very earth from which we receive things. I used to think, oh, this needs to change, but I realized I cannot change the whole world. Even though I know what would be the solution, I cannot change the whole world. So I realized the only thing which is in my hand is changing myself, is changing what I can do right now. That lifts a lot of weight from your shoulders. If you are carrying it around, it can actually cause your shoulder pain also. So yes, try to change yourself. You will see when you can do something in a practical way, one step at a time, it will give you a sense of satisfaction that yes, you are moving in that direction, and peace also. Because if you are doing nothing, just wondering how to change the world, it won't help. That is where the saying comes, charity begins at home. So yes, we should change ourselves first, and that way the world is already improved with one person. And then by seeing your own example, others will follow it too. If you do it sincerely and magnetically, it will inspire others too. So that is the secret of inner peace. When I was young, I used to listen to this song from Michael Jackson. I don't recommend it. I do not recommend it to anyone to listen anymore. But it had this line, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. So I think that is along with this saying also. Third secret today is cultivating harmonious friendships and shunning the company of peaceless persons. You need to be careful with this one. We are not here to judge anyone that you are a peaceful person, you are not a peaceful person. So it is not that we are looking around everyone in our aura and saying, oh, this is peaceful, I should be in this person's company, this is not peaceful. It is just calm, impersonal discrimination that the company we keep will affect us or our company will affect others. It is the law of magnetism. If our own peace is very strong, we can help someone become more peaceful. But if our own peace is not that strong, will get affected by whatever the person's level of consciousness with us. If the person is a saint, well and good. You don't need to worry about anything. The person is not a saint and is in not such an uplifting mood, it can affect you. And so if you can make it a harmonious, uplifting company, go for it. But if you can't, try to avoid that company without being rude. We are not trying to be judgmental, because being judgmental also makes us leak our inner peace. So cultivating, it's interesting Swamiji using the word cultivating. Cultivating implies we also have to water the relationship, take care of the plant of friendship. We need to be patient, understanding, cooperative, harmonious ourselves too. It's not like we are saying someone to be peaceful. We are giving it the energy it deserves. So, cultivating harmonious friendships and shunning the company of peaceless persons. So, if the person is someone whose company you can't shun, like it is someone who you live with, or he is someone your relative or a friend who was peaceful but now due to circumstances has become peaceless. So, if possible, you can avoid the company, but if not, you should see it as a test given by divine and try to raise your own energy and give as much divine love and support to your friend, to your relative, and make it harmonious by the grace of God. So, in my own personal experience, I realized before coming to the path that a lot of company which I was getting into was not at all productive, not at all peaceful. So I eventually, slowly withdrew myself. It was possible for me to do so. So I withdrew myself and I decided it's fine. I don't need to seek company which will just lead to chaos and disharmony. Better to just be in inner peace, silence, solitude, and what God brings of itself will it come. So I followed that, and eventually, just by accepting that approach, automatically harmonious people began coming. I didn't sort out them, it just happened naturally. So if you change yourself, if you make yourself more peaceful, subsequently you will attract peaceful people, and then you need to cultivate those harmonious friendships and accept that gift of God. And shunning the company of peaceless persons doesn't mean you have to judge them or be harsh with them. You just need to withdraw kindly, and just because you want to preserve your inner peace. Swami Kriyananda ji said peace was his bottom line. If he couldn't have his peace, he couldn't help people more so. And it is a useful advice for all of us. 11th one, the secret of inner peace is projecting peace outward into your environment. This is a fun one. I think we should practice it also. So I think we can do this practice. Sit little straight forward. Close your eyes. Try to feel peace. Remember the experience of peace you feel in meditation. That peace feel at your heart center, maintaining your eyes upwards. That peace in your heart center, the peace of God, the peace of relaxation. Let it spread throughout your body. Let it expand beyond you. This expansion of peace is a kind of relaxed effort. There is no stress, no tension. It is like a river taking away all your worries, all your tensions. You are becoming more and more peaceful. It is growing deeper, like the depths of an ocean. You are becoming peace. Let it expand in your environment, beyond eventually covering this entire planet and beyond. Covering the whole world, universe. See your peace touching not only you but everyone, and their peace touching you in return. Experience this for a few moments. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So it was a wonderful experience projecting peace outward into your environment. It goes along with practicing the presence of God, because as we learn in our meditation classes, peace is one of the 8 aspects of God. It is one of the ways we experience God when we start our meditations in the beginning. It's like a waterfall of calming energy from God coming and giving us peace. It is a cessation of all suffering, all debris of restlessness. When they settle down, there is peace. So that peace, when we experience it, if you project it outward, that implies you are experiencing it inward. And do it all the time if possible. I used to do it. Growing up in schools, classes, everywhere, I used to see there are so many people shouting with each other or talking or just cacophony of noises. And it would be stressful for me because I would hear everything and it just didn't make sense. So I would try to withdraw inward and try to tune into that peace underneath all noise. And I tried it out. It was not my own thought, it was God given. I think God was trying to show me what is possible. So an idea came, maybe I can project it outward. This was a small class of 10 people or something, and all of them were busy in their own chatting and noise and everything. So I said, let's experiment. So I projected this inner peace like 360-degree aura and said, let it expand. And within a few seconds, suddenly everyone became quiet. And they all were looking, what happened? Even I didn't know what happened. And it was a fun experiment, but with magnetism, as you can see, the more peaceful you are, the more you project it. It will go outward in your environment and help everyone and come back to you too. Within a few moments, the people started chatting again. So another lesson from this is, even though peace comes to us, if it is not within us, it won't last. Outside peace may give us some calm, but if it is not inside, it will fade away. So inner peace needs meditation. That is the greatest way to attain peace. Without meditation, if you don't do it daily, you will feel peace when you meditate, but when you stop meditating, it goes away if you don't maintain it in everything you do with clear, calm awareness and deep experience. Next one, 12th one is, secret of inner peace is a simple life. Reducing your definition of necessities. Yogananda ji, master, used to say to reduce your unnecessary necessities. We think, I need this, I need that, it is so important to me, I need it, I cannot live without it. But if we really impersonally come out of our likes and dislikes and look really objectively, bringing God's presence into it, we can see some of the things which we have or things we do are not really necessary. They just take up our time and energy and our peace. A simple life indeed is peaceful. Why is that? because there are less things to worry about, less energy to expend, and less complications. The simple things, for example, simplicity. If you see someone living in a mountain village and they just do a little bit of farming self-sufficiently and not much need for going out anywhere, in their general vicinity they have everything they need: food, water, resources for living. And in that lifestyle, if they are able to live contentedly without too many desires, occasionally there might be some things they need, but too many desires not there, then you will see they live in a certain amount of peace not known to those who live in cities with so many distractions around them. So you will have noticed that even people who are so many resources, when they take a vacation, they go to a place where all their necessary distractions are not there. They instinctively know that they don't really need that. They need to get away from that occasionally to get that peace. Again, this is coming from outward. If your life itself is simple, within, your inner peace will last longer. So reducing your definition of necessities, and it is different for different people. Different people have different needs, and one has to introspect and look and learn from them for themselves what is truly necessary. For some people in the line of work, some particular thing might be very necessary. Like for a musician, his instruments and daily sadhana will be very, very necessary. For someone else, not so much. So it's for us to introspect and decide what truly is necessary, and based on only the necessaries things, we should have a simple life. Let's try it and see how it works for us. I'm not suggesting to go to a room and take everything in a bundle and throw them away, one step at a time. When I was growing up, I had this hobby of collecting articles, clippings, sayings of people, just knowledge, hunger for knowledge. And I thought, oh, these are wonderful things. This is before the age of smartphone and general use of computers, so I didn't have access to internet then. So I took anything which felt inspiring, knowledgeable, and put it in a box so that I could view it later on. Kept doing this, and within a few years' time, I had lots of boxes, and I realized I do not have place to keep those boxes, and I was rarely viewing them too. So I realized it was just, I was a little bit attached to those things, but I realized I cannot just keep going like this, it's not useful. So I let go of those boxes and realized that whatever knowledge I need will eventually come to me, or I can look for it whenever needed. So that was a good step for me in letting go of all the baggage and just the healing waters of peace to come back. So that was my little experience. Next secret is a healthy life, exercising regularly, eating properly, breathing deeply. Simple things but very effective and powerful. How many of us actually breathe deeply, properly, diaphragmatically? Those who are yogis know that when you breathe diaphragmatically, you are gaining so much more oxygen, which gives you so much more energy. So more energy, less tiredness, less frustration, more peace. So a healthy life, a balanced life is important. And I know nowadays more people are realizing it, and they are trying to bring it into the daily life. For me, moving into a monastery was helpful in that way, to have a balanced life, balanced schedule for exercising, work, proper eating, breathing deeply through sadhana. Paramahansa Yogananda ji said the future would be spiritual communities everywhere popping up. So if possible, if you have that opportunity, don't let it go. It is a blessing to live with like-minded people and have a balanced life. Because our world is not balanced, it is imbalanced, we all can see it. And it is affecting everyone. It's all connected. So for our own peace and for the others, First, we need to make our peace stronger before we share it with others. So, for that very reason, it is good to have a satsanga, good company, and healthy, balanced living. Simply, not to complicate things. Exercising regularly. The energization exercises have been very helpful in that way too, because it harmonizes the flow of energy. All the obstacles of energy which cause ill health are gone. And when the energy flows properly, the peace flows properly and doesn't get lost in blockages. This is the last one we will discuss today. The secret of inner peace is a clear conscience, remaining true to our high ideals. Clear conscience, remaining true to our high ideals. It is difficult to remain true to our high ideals. If your ideals are not high, then it is easy, but if they are truly high, then it is difficult to remain true to them, because we are all progressing directionally in a positive direction, and sometimes, many times, mistakes will happen. So in that case, what you have to do is not beat yourself, because that way you are doubling your suffering and it is not helping you grow. Affirming your true divine reality, which is from God, needs us to disengage our ego from the situation, realizing that yes, a mistake was made, trying to change it without beating ourselves. It is a learning experience, we all tried. There is a story about a very sensitive person. He was interested in poetry. So he once went to a library in Egypt, Cairo. He saw a book of poems by a famous poetry master, and he saw that no one in the library had borrowed that book. So he said, no one has taken it for so many years. Let me just take it and not give it back. So he took the book, stole it from the library and took it with him and never brought it back. 20 years or more passed. He had a conversation with a fellow philosopher, and he mentioned passingly that he took this book from the library of a great poet with wonderful poems, and the philosopher was, "What did you do?" And the person asked, "What happened?" He said, "If you had written that book and instead of just taking it, if you had written that book, someone else might have read that poem, and by reading that poem, that person's whole life might have changed. You uh, you took that opportunity from that person away because of your selfishness." And the poet who took that book away realized, yes, he was a sensitive person, realized, yes, this was a wrong action. And he couldn't do anything about it because the book had been lost after 20 years. But he realized, and that caused his inner peace to go away because his conscience wasn't clear anymore. And so, for making that conscience clear, we need to. Now, he didn't had this teaching that we need to let go of our ego and try to improve later on. But we know that. So, try to keep your conscience clear. Have high ideas, work towards them one step at a time. Don't get overwhelmed. We all are trying ourselves best. So, with that, I think it is time up for me. I hope it has all been helpful to you all.